This is a podcast from the Queen City Podcast Network.
Welcome to Hope with Ramona Holloway. For many of you, my Hope with Ramona Holloway guest is a familiar face on WBTV in Charlotte for many years, telling some very powerful stories. He is indeed a storyteller. Retired after over 30 years of storytelling, he's written a book, and he, I say, has become the pride of Rowan County. David Whisenant. David, thank you so much for coming.
I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
And I wasn't sure if you would say yes, because I connected with you after seeing a very powerful Facebook post.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about it?
39 years ago, February 17th, my father took his own life. And over the last 20, 25 years, I've been vocal about that. And typically, I will post something on social media around that anniversary. And the whole point of that is to try to tell people that you can never let suicide be an option. #don't do it. And that's been the idea behind it. And so typically I will use a picture of my dad. I try to use a different one every time. And sometimes I'll do a video. But that's what the message is. And a lot of times I will relate the story of what happened and how it affected me, how it affected my family over the years, and how for the first 20 years, we were encouraged not to say anything about it.
Who encouraged you not to say anything?
Well, my mother, for one. There were a lot of folks. Again, this happened in 1987, and there still is a bit of a stigma.
Oh, absolutely.
But it was more present then. And you just didn't talk about it because it's shameful. You don't want to admit that there was something so wrong within your family dynamic that would cause your father to take his own life. You don't want people to know that. And then you figure out that actually you can help people by telling that story.
So what made you decide that you were going to start sharing your story?
I would have to say I am a person of faith, and I would have to say it was a nudge from God. I have to say that's what it was. Because
what did that nudge look like? I'm always curious when people say, God told me.
It didn't have a look, it had a feeling. And it came about 20 years after this initially happened. And I guess it was because I was seeing more stories, being a news reporter, I was seeing more stories in the news that had to do with suicide. And I did pray about it. And I asked the Lord if this is something I needed to talk about, if this is something that would be important, could it help other people? And the sense that I got was that it would. And the most public thing where it began with another media person, with Keith Larson, who was on WBT radio.
Know him well.
He saw a Facebook post that I did similar to what you did. And he asked me if I would be willing to talk about it on the radio on his show. And I never thought that would be the outcome of posting this on social media. And I just automatically said, sure. And I did. And as I was in his studio relating this, my friends at WBTV came down the hall with a camera and said, let's do this too. And so that ended up being a story on television, radio, and the newspaper, and social media. And it spread from there.
Mm-hmm. How did it change your life to finally just rip that Band-Aid off?
It's not been easy, because if this is a ministry that I'm supposed to have, it's a very hard one to take on.
Still after 39 years, some might say?
Yeah. If there was some other ministry that would have been easier, that would have been great. But this is what it is, and I have to accept that. If you come from a place of experiencing this loss in your life, you have valuable things to share with people. You can share what it's like for the family member, for the family that's left behind. There are If my dad had known what this was going to do to me and to my family, he wouldn't have done this. That action wouldn't have been taken that day. But I don't think folks who are in that state think that way. And that's kind of the message I wanted to get out. You don't know what that's going to do to people that you really love, that you wouldn't hurt for anything in the world. This is going to hurt them like you can't believe. So don't do it.
How did it shape your path as a kid?
Well, I wasn't a kid. I was 28 when this happened.
Yeah.
Because I'm old as dirt, so I wasn't a kid. But I was 28, and like I said, for about 15 to 20 years, you couldn't talk about it. I attend a Southern Baptist church, and we're big on testimony. Give that testimony. And so we had a Baptist Men's Day one Sunday, and the pastor said, "Would you mind speaking and give your testimony at Baptist Men's Day?" I said, "Sure." So I told my mom, and she's like, "Great, but you're not going to talk about your dad." And I said, "I'm not." And she said, "No, you're not." So I couldn't. And that's what I'm saying is the stigma of you don't talk about this. And so it took a while to get past that.
I can identify because I remember having suicidal ideations when I was like 16 years old. And after that one day when I shared with my mom that things had gotten really overwhelmingly dark for me, after that feeling passed, and it does, we never talked about it again. Not my entire life. So did you choose to share after your mom decided it was okay to share? She
never decided it was okay, but to me, God overruled my mom when it came to having that discussion.
That's big. That's big.
I went ahead anyway. She wasn't particularly happy with it, but I think maybe she saw that there was some value in it. Now, she never wanted to talk about it. And give you an example of how that stigma works. A couple of days after this happened, the family comes in and everybody's there at the house and everybody's trying to be comforting and all that. Had an uncle, not one that I know very well. He was a good bit older than me. He was there, and when he came in, there's our family and all that. And he comes in and he says, "Nah, this is something's wrong. You need to call the police. Jake wouldn't do this. This isn't right." And I just said, just shut up. This is what happened. This is what happened. Let's not, this was somebody came in there and killed him. You're making things a lot worse here. So that's what you get up against every now and then.
He couldn't accept it.
No, he couldn't accept it. And I don't know why I did. I'll give you the deal. At that time, I was working at a radio station in Salisbury. That was a Tuesday. It was a nasty day. It was sleet and a little bit of freezing rain, but I was still working. My dad had a retail furniture and appliance store. Had it 48 years downtown, and he was at work. He knew nobody was going to come, but that was just his deal. He opened up at 8:30 every morning, and he was there every day. It's just how it was. Anyway, I was at the radio station. My mom calls. She says, "Come home. Something's happened to your dad." And I just said, "Okay." Radio station less than a mile from my parents' house. I got over there. I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "Call the store. Something's wrong. I don't know." And she just was very, elusive. I called the store. One of the employees, a guy named Jack, he answers the phone, and he answered it just like it was a normal business day. He says, "City Sales and Rental, can I help you?" And I thought, well, it must not be that bad if he's answering the phone like it's a normal day. And I said, "Jack, this is David. What's going on?" And here are words that you'll never forget. He said, "David, your dad is dead. I just don't know." I said, "Okay, thanks." And I hung up. And I knew. I knew it. It just.
Had he tried to?
No.
Did you know?
No, he'd never tried it before. He'd never said anything about it. There was no indication that I ever had that he was in a dark place where that was something he was thinking about. Mm-hmm. Now, he was a closet alcoholic. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that till I was in high school, but he was. I don't know how that played into it, but that was the deal.
Alcohol is a depressant.
Oh yeah, right.
So,
that was it, and that's how it came about.
So, it's you, your brother,
your
sister,
and
your
my
mom.
Yeah, and my sister, again, 20 years older than me, and she was I forgot where she was living at that time, but it wasn't in North Carolina. My brother did live there near to us, and his reaction was more active. He got in the car and drove to the store to see for himself. I didn't want anything to do with it. And then that was it for about 20 years.
So have you found that you suffer with depression? Did it encourage you to not drink? I mean, how have you gotten through this? Obviously, your faith is huge, but what kind of action did you have to put behind this to get through it?
On the drinking thing, again, is we grew up as Southern Baptists, and it was like, you don't drink. Of course, the whole time he was anyway. So a lot of folks don't believe this. I'm 65. I've never had a drink in my life. Never, not once. That's just my personal belonging or conviction. But my brother and my dad were alcoholics. My fear is that first drink I take, that's it. So I just haven't taken the first drink. But yes, my faith is what has gotten me through this. That doesn't mean, you have a relationship with God doesn't mean that everything's great and that your path is lined with, roses and periwinkles. It's not.
Yeah.
It's still difficult. It's just that you have that to offer that comfort. And that's been the biggest thing.
So what do you tell another family? You say you share this story to help another family understand. What is it that you want another family to know?
I want them to know that you're not going to get over it. I want them to be honest. And sometimes that's hard. And I want them to know, look, I'm just about 40 years in and it's still hard. It's still a hard thing to talk about. And when I'll hear a song, I'll see a picture and I'm right back there in 1987, or I'm right back there when times were good and he was daddy and we were, doing stuff. So I just try to be honest. And I just try to say, don't be angry at this person. Don't blame them. Try to have some empathy for something that was going on. And I know there are these like stages of anger and grief and all that. And there's one of the stages is you're angry. I never really got angry at my dad because I loved him so much. I can't get angry. Something was happening there that I can't understand. So I can't be angry. I just know it was a bad decision. And I don't want anybody else to make that bad decision. And here, we keep hearing about it all the time. We have this, the Martin Short's daughter, Martin Vanderbeek. Who else? I mean, it keeps happening. Those are well-known people. And then you have, this is not really your question, but here's the thing that gets me. I will tell people and I'll share the story, right? And the thing you have to put up with is that people will respond to you by saying, oh yeah, that happened to my Uncle Jimmy and here's what he did. And I'll get all these details of these horrible things that people, it's like, I don't want to know that, but people want to share it.
Right.
And I have to put on a smile and say, yeah, I'm sorry.
And I commend you for that because there don't appear to be still a lot of places, especially in some religious communities, where you can share it openly and get the kind of response that you are willing to give, which is a head nod. And
I think that's changing, though. I think even within the denomination that I belong to, there is an emphasis on mental health and that whole it's okay not to be okay thing of understanding that we can't just look at somebody who's going through something and say, you know what, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray you right out of this. Okay, that's great. Do that. Mm-hmm. But there's some other steps you can take. Acknowledge that, and it's okay. There are, I believe God has gifted professionals who can help us to get through this. So why not take advantage of that?
Have you gotten professional help for your grief?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I'm not currently, but I have over the years.
How does that help?
I don't know, because in one case, I'm not so sure it did. There was another, there were two different folks that I went to. And the second one, I thought it was very helpful. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just having somebody to talk to about it. Nobody explains it to you. Like, nobody can tell you, look, here's what was going through your dad's mind. Here's the logic behind it all. That doesn't exist. And you have to be okay with that. And that's another thing that I try to tell people is you don't have to figure out the why. You don't have to drill down to understand here's exactly what was going through his or her mind at that moment. It's not going to change it. So the best thing to do is make sure that you go forward and that that's not an option for you.
Do you have children?
I do. I have a son and 2 granddaughters.
Do you talk openly about your father with them?
No. With my son, yes, but my granddaughters are 10 and 12, and we haven't done that yet. Mm-hmm. And my daughter-in-law is kind of the gatekeeper there. And so that conversation will be coming around at some point because the oldest granddaughter is actually in middle school now. So I'm sure she's being exposed to things like that. Right. But we haven't. There's going to come a day that I'm going to sit down and give them that talk. I mean, they've seen pictures of their great-granddad and I'm granddad, great-grand. Yeah, great-grand. Yeah. They've seen pictures of him and I've told him, he was in World War II, he was in the Navy, he did this, he did that, mm-hmm. But we haven't gotten to the end point.
How did you share the story with your son? Was there a time when you just decided today is the day?
No, not really. He was coming along about the time that I did that first interview. Mm-hmm. And that's when I thought, if it's going to be out here publicly, I don't need people coming to him asking questions with him going, what are you talking about? Right. So that was about then. Yeah.
So your book.
Yeah.
You devoted a chapter to your father, and the book titled Chasing the Story.
Yeah.
And still available on Amazon.
It is. And at local bookstores near you.
What made you decide to put that story in the book?
That's the reason for the book. The reason for the book isn't for me to recount my fabulous career in TV news.
But you did have a fabulous career.
Yeah, because I couldn't write an entire. I had to have something to fill it out. So that's what all that other, stuff is. The reason for writing the book was to reach a new audience with that story. That was the real reason behind it. And that's really what it's about. Now, all the other stuff is appealing and fun, and there's happy, funny things in there. But the bottom line is I wanted people to see that story and react to it. Mm.
So now you're retired.
Yes.
And you've got this busy brain. I know it's a busy brain because newsrooms are very busy people.
Yeah.
How do you continue to grow through this, especially with so much unbusy time in retirement?
By doing this, by talking to you, I am writing another book. I'm doing things like board of directors for the United Way and things like that.
Oh, just little things like helping our major charities support them.
I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what but one of the biggest components of the United Way in where I'm from in Rowan County is a thing called Into the Light. Into the Light is suicide awareness and prevention. The reason it's called Into the Light is because there's two reasons. You're bringing the issue of suicide into the light, out of the darkness, and there is a walk. And at the walk, it's on the football field at Catawba College. It starts at 6:30-ish, walking around the track. It's dark. By the time you finish making 3 laps, whatever it is, the sun's up, and you have come into the light. You are literally coming into the light. And so that works. And last, I guess it was in September, October, there was more than 100 folks there, and people tell their stories, and I share mine when they want me to. I don't try to do it every time because other people have stories to share, and I don't want to be, I don't like doing it, frankly, but I don't feel like I can not do it. So
that's beautiful. How can people support Into the Light?
Monetarily. That is part of it. I don't know, just by showing up and walking. If you show up and walk, and then there are people there who will, for the very first times, share their stories, then they get support from folks who are there. People come up to them and hug them and do all that kind of thing. And if you're okay with that and you're accepting of that, it's a good place to be. If you don't want that, you can kind of walk off to the side and let it go.
As a fellow storyteller,
yeah,
what do you think is so powerful about telling our stories? Like, have you figured out why there's so much power in these stories?
Because you lived it. It's personal. You were there. You saw it. You experienced it. And no one can take your story away from you. No one can debate you on your story because you lived it. And that makes it powerful. And I remember, doing stories in the news, if I could get people to open up and be personal and tell how this thing affected them, no matter what it was, that made the story more personal. And that was difficult sometimes because people don't want to do that. And I understood that. But I also would try to explain your story is going to get more attention than me telling it. Your words are better than mine. I'm the reporter, so what I say kind of brings it together, but yours is the one that creates impact and action. You need to be the one saying it. So I think that's it. I think that's where the power is.
Every story of hope is powerful.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it can change lives, and I'm thankful for the way you are using your gift.
Well, I know that it has. I don't want this to sound whatever. I know that speaking out has saved people's lives because I've heard from them. I know that it has. That's not me. I give credit to God for that. I'm a vessel. But I know that it's done that. And that's why I keep talking about it. And that's why when Ramona Holloway calls, of course I'll come on and talk about it. I don't care. Of course I will. I can't not talk about it.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I threatened you early on that if you made me cry within the first couple of minutes, there would be to pay. Thank you for, holding off for at least 5 minutes.
Sure.
David, thank you so much for your time.
No, it's great. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing hope with me. If you'd like to connect, go to RamonaHolloway.com. You can find me on my socials. Once again, Ramona Holloway. And if you'd like to support this podcast, guess what? RamonaHolloway.com.
QueenCityPodcastNetwork.com.